And then from viveka, we move to viraga, okay, emotional and mental preparedness. Now, in the Tattvabodha, we are viraga, viraga kaha. Yeah, we'll read this one. Ichha rahityam. Okay, so absence of desires. All right, it's an absence of desires. Here, iha means here, but in this realm, and svarga and the heavens. Bhogeshu means in the experiencing. So in the experiencing of here and in the heavens, there is an absence of desires. Okay? So that's viraga kaha. So it is not a rejection of anything that is enjoyable. It is not being addicted to them or partaking in slavery to them. So whatever it is, whatever objects we have to interact with through the day, whether they're people, whether it's money, whether it's whatever it is, these objects should not be binding us. So how do we make it so that they don't bind us? Vivekaha. The stronger our vivekaha, the stronger our viraga. Okay? Alright, I've put a note here to use the boat analogy. Okay. Where did I put that boat one? Maybe it's here. It appears I didn't say it. Okay, so I don't have a full story for the boat. But basically, you're standing on the side of a raging river. It is you will die if you go in the river. It is really just chaotic. There's little whirlpools everywhere. There's logs floating down, and it's just very dangerous. But you have to get to the other side. You literally have to. And you see a little boat tied to the side of the river. So you get in the boat and you begin to cross to the other side. Now the river is life, it's samsara, it's all of our raga, dvesha, and the blows and the traumas and the chaos of life, hitting us and knocking us around, and they will drag us down. Okay, but when we get in the boat can represent our sadhanas. It can represent Ishvara and us using Ishvara as a support, and it's the path in general. It's Vedanta. So we get in the Vedanta boat and we sail. We go across the other side of the river. But when we get to the other side of the river and we put our feet on the solid land and we've made the journey, we don't pick the boat up and put it on our back and try to take the boat with us. Okay? We use the path for as long as we'd like. Okay, so the things that we need to avoid are the things that are going to drag us down and to give us a heavy mind. It's cravings and aversions, it's things that bind us to this place. But in this analogy, we were allowed to use the boat, and the boat represents our sadhanas, it represents belief systems, it's God, it's the entire path of Vedanta. So we are allowed to pick these things up. We are allowed to have desires. Okay, we can have dharmic desires. We don't have to reject all desires immediately. But once we get to the other side, once we've used Vedanta, once we've used these tools and we arrive to the destination, we no longer have to take those tools with us. We're free now. We can set everything down. Oh, now I do have an analogy for this one. The two thorns, okay? So imagine you're wandering through the bush and you manage to get to a nasty, jagged thorn and it gets stuck right in the ball of your foot. And it's painful, it's annoying, and it's stopping you from getting anywhere. In this teaching, the first thorn represents the bad addiction or the unethical pleasures that just create a massive mess in your mind. Now, to get that thing out, you don't just poke at it with your fingers, because that can make things worse. You need to find another thorn, a good thorn, and you use the second thorn, which represents good addiction, like dharma and discipline, to carefully pry out the first thorn. And here's the catch. Once the painful thorn is out, you don't stick the good thorn in its place. You throw them both aside because your goal was not to collect thorns. It was to collect freely. It's to walk freely. It's just like being stuck. Oh, here's my river analogy. You knew I put that somewhere. Okay. It's just like being stuck on the side of a wide, dangerous river. You really want to get to the other side, that place of absolute freedom, but you can't swim it alone. You find yourself a sturdy boat. This boat's your spiritual practice and your good habits. It's what keeps you afloat and moving in the right direction instead of just drifting around. You row like a madman until you finally hit the other bank. Now, once you step out onto the solid ground of wisdom, you don't pick up the boat and try to lug it on your back for the rest of your life. That would be ridiculous and it would just weigh you down. The boat has done its job, so you leave it at the water's edge and walk on. To drive this home, think of it like taking a specific medicine to kill off a nasty infection. While you're sick, the medicine is your best friend. You take it exactly when you're supposed to, but once the infection is cleared and you're back to 100%, you stop taking the pills. If you kept downing the pills, the medicine itself would eventually start to make you sick. Wisdom or jnana is what tells you the infection of ignorance is gone. So you can finally transcend even those helpful tools such as the boat or the good thorn that you use to get better. And you can just enjoy being free. Okay? So I hope that helps. We found the boat analogy and it worked in with the thorn analogy. Everything was good. Okay, so here is the enumeration of Shatta Sambhakti. Shamadhi Shatta Sampatti. If you're wondering why sometimes it's Shamadhi Shatta Sampatti and other times it's Shatta Sampatti, Shatta Sampatti means the six virtues or the six wealth. Shamadhi is Shama, which is the first one, Shama, and Adi. Adi just means etc. So it's enumerating the six, and then it calls them the inner wealth, the six inner wealth. So it says Shamaha, etc., the six wealth. So Samadhi, Satta Sampattihi. And someone who has these is called a Samadhi Satta Sampannaha. But you guys literally do not need to memorize that. This is something I'm saying to your knowledge here in this session. So Shama is mind control, Damaha is sense control, Uparattihi is withdrawal or quietude, Titikha is endurance, Shraddha is faith or trust, and Samadhanam is focusing power. So we will see the Sanskrit translation for all of these, I think, in the next class. We're doing so here's the definition for these six here. So we'll go through these next week, and you guys will have this week to study them. But as for it, how do we actually cultivate these? That's dealt with more specifically in the Gita by Krishna. And in the Gita, the depth is very deep. The Gita is designed to actually teach us the path. This text is designed to teach us terminology and the basic layout. Okay, so all we need to understand at this point is that we need sadhana chatushtaya, we need four inequalities. That's viveka, viragaha, satya sambhatti, and mumukshunam, or mumukshutva, sorry. So that's the six. Shama is stress management. Okay? So Shama and Dhamma work together. I have an analogy here for how. Shama and Dhamma work together. Okay? So Shamaha works for stress management. Shamaha is peace of the mind. And Dhammaha helps to control what's coming in through the sense organs so that we can support that peace of mind. Okay? So I have a story here. In a region where water is scarce, so is this the one I wanted? I think I wanted. This one looks more complete. I think this is the one I ended up with. So, in a region where water is precious but a wild resource, life depends on how well you manage the flow. Left to its own devices, your sensory energy, okay, is like a river. It's rushing headlong towards the saltiness of the ocean, where all its potential is wastefully lost. To save this resource, we must build a massive dam. This is the practice of damaha, or sense control. So constructing this dam isn't about stopping the river or drying it up through suppression. It's about intelligently saving that energy so that you can decide exactly where it goes. Instead of letting your attention leak out into every single distraction, you channelize and focus it into a stream towards the fields that you actually want irrigated, like your studies or your spiritual goals. So once the dam is built and the energy is directed, you have to maintain the health of the entire system. So while shamaha is the treatment you use to calm the waters when they've already become muddy and disturbed, uparamaha acts as the preventative medicine. It's the discipline of keeping the surrounding environment that you clean so that the new disturbances don't even reach the gates in the first place. You do this by sticking to your Vedanta-friendly duties, your swadharma, and reducing the unfriendly activities that tend to stir up the silt of your mind. By acting as both the engineer of the dam and the protector of the watershed, you can ensure that your mind remains a light, powerful instrument that's ready for knowledge to take root. Okay? So I hope that helps to drive that home a little bit. It's not about suppressing anything. Because if we suppress things, they'll build up and they'll eventually explode. Dhammaha is about controlling what senses come through the sense organs. So for an alcoholic craving alcohol, their job would be to make sure they don't see or smell any alcohol because it's going to trigger them. It's going to create a need for them to unwind. Okay? So that would be Shama, Dhammaha, Upara, Atihi, and Shama. But like I said, we get shown and taught how to use these in the Gita. For now, it's simply enumeration. Tattvabodha one now. Shama and Dhamma in practice. Here's another one for Shama and Dhamma, just to help that. In a bustling border town, there's a magnificent palace that houses a priceless treasure called knowledge. For the palace to function, the atmosphere inside must be one of lightness and quiet, but the town outside is chaotic, filled with militants and terrorists in the form of stressful noises, distracting sights, and unsettling news. The external forces are constantly trying to trespass, threatening to create an internal law and order problem. That would make the palace impossible to live in. To protect the peace, a vigilant guard named Dhammaha stands at the palace's 5 main gateways: the ears, eyes, nose, tongue, and skin. Dhammaha doesn't just hide behind the doors, he operates like a security team with a metal detector checking every single visitor that approaches. The motto is no admission without permission. He intelligently directs that traffic. So the traffic here is thought and sense, things trying to come through the sense organs, mainly. Ensuring that only what is helpful is allowed inside while blocking out the militants at the gate. By managing the sense organs this way, he prevents the world from rushing in and overwhelming the palace. Deep within the palace, the master of the house, Shamaha, maintains the internal poise. Shamaha knows that when the palace is under siege by stress, it becomes a heavy burden. Like a child trying to carry an iron mace during a school play, if the mind is heavy with anxiety, the master can't even lift his own tools to do his work. He's pinned down by his own mental weight, but by practicing Shamaha, the master keeps the mind light and peaceful, because the mind is no longer a heavy burden. It becomes a sharp and effective instrument, or karanam, that can be swung with ease to accomplish any goal. So together, the guard at the gate and the master within ensure that life is not a dragging struggle, but it's a journey that is light, steady, and focused. So to wrap that up, Dhammaha is making sure that militants and terrorists don't get through the doors to disturb the inside of the palace. But if something does disturb the inside of the palace, if some thought arises by itself and doesn't come through the sense organs, and instead it's just some habitual thought pattern, then we use Shamaha to actively think about something else and take the mind off that and no longer entertain it. Okay? And the EQ and the IQ analogy. So this has been done a couple of times. I'll retell this one off my memory. There's a virus analogy for EQ versus IQ. EQ is emotional quotient and IQ is intelligence quotient. So Vedanta suggests that even if your IQ is 200 and you're the smartest person in the world, if you are not emotionally stable, you can't use your full IQ. And they say that it's like having a virus. Some people say that virus stands for Vital Information Resources Under C. So, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Matsarya, all of these negative emotions will give us a low EQ. We become frazzled or upset, we can't think clearly, we don't have patience or any time, and so even if we are really smart, we can't use our resources properly to be smart. Because without a strong EQ, without strong emotional intelligence, without being calm and poised, then we cannot take the time to sit down and rationally think. We'll just jump around with scattered mind energy. So I've told that one a few times. We won't spend a lot of time there. The gateway guard, we jumped the gun on that one. And the dam one. Okay, and Uparati is here. Uparati is here. It's called Uparatihi. All right. And this is off of a chatbot that I should probably tell you guys about. If you just type Paramarthananda chatbot, there's a chatbot here which is trained on, I think it's 50 books or something. 128,000. Yeah, so here we go. 47 books, okay? So this is not farming Paramarthananda at all, and it hallucinates a little bit, and it's not 100% accurate, but this book, this bot, is a good bot for checking details in text and things like this. It's not a traditional language learning machine that's trained on all the internet and things. It's trained on just specifically these books, and if it can't get the answer from the book, it doesn't answer you. Okay, so don't replace your Vedantic study of Swami Paramarthananda with a chatbot. Don't ever do that. But this is a very good tool to use with your study. Okay? And I got this screen from there. So Dhammaha is not suppression, it's a voluntary, deliberate, and intelligent channelization of your sensory energy. Just like a dam conserves water to be used for constructive purposes like irrigation, Dhammaha conserves your mental and sensory energy so that it can be directed towards a spiritual goal. It means having no admission policy at the gate of your senses for anything that is going to cause internal law and order problems. Shamaha is the treatment for a disturbed mind. It is the mastery and tranquility of the mind. The capacity to regulate and direct your mental energy. Okay? So if something unwanted does come in, you have mental mastery, you have tranquility of the mind. If some habitual pattern does upset you, you have the ability to regulate and redirect your mental energy. Okay, how do you do that? We'll learn in the Gita. And Uparamaha or Uparatihi, this is your preventative medicine, okay? And it's a maintenance of the dam's health. It has two primary interconnected meanings that complete the story that I was reading earlier. Okay, so that's the end of the slideshow, guys. It's just a quick gloss of some terminologies here, and I'll drop these terminologies in the Discord for your revision. Brahman, very simple. Infinite, limitless principle that's not bound by time or space. Okay, so that limitless is not bound by time or space. Nityam and anityam, the distinction between permanent or real and the unreal. Real is Brahman, unreal is everything else. Sadhana chatushtayam, those fourfold qualifications. Vivekaha, viragaha, satya sambhatihi, mumukshutvam. Anta karanam. That's the mind viewed as an internal instrument. Okay, karanam literally means instrument. So what's the antakaranam? Ahamkara, chitta, manas, buddhi. It's those components. Okay, they're not for, you're not made up of these individual parts. It's one mind, and the buddhi, the manas, chitta, all these things, ahamkara, are all part of the antakaranam, which means mind. Shamaha, mind control, the peace and tranquility of the mind, free from mental stress and strain. Dhammaha, again, sensory control. Okay, intelligently directing and mastery of the five external sense organs. Uparamaha, uparatihi, the maintenance of peace, preventative medicine that prevents mental disturbance. Okay, so the maintenance of that thing. Tikra is endurance and forbearance of pairs of opposites, such as heat and cold, or pleasure and pain. Okay, so it's the endurance to not react to situations, to give yourself time to, if you have to suppress it long enough to get home and decompress it. Okay, so we don't believe in compression. We believe in endurance. You endure it long enough to get home and do it. Try not to react because we make our habits stronger. Shraddha, faith or trust in the Guru's words or scriptures, and samadhanam, concentration or single pointedness and focus of the mind. So we'll be seeing, like I said, we'll be seeing the Sanskrit definitions of all of these six. For example, what was this one? Shraddha, faith and trust in the Guru's words. Okay, so Shraddha, Guru, Vedanta, Vakya, and then we have Lotus. So the Guru's Vedanta word, okay, is faith. So these are all defined in Sanskrit very, very accurately, and we'll be going through that next week. So I hope this has been a help to you guys. The only two left here is samadhanam, which is concentration or single-pointedness of the mind, and paribhasha, technical jargon. In other words, all of these are paribhasha. Okay, that's the technical jargon for Vedanta. I'll put all these stories and analogies and terminologies into the Discord for Tattvabodha. I hope you guys got something out of this week's revision. I'll stick around for a few minutes in case anybody has any questions. But aside from that, that's it for this week. I'll see you guys next week for Tattvabodha. And in 2 days, we have Gita. Bye for now. Hari Om.